Hey Internet friends, to fully understand the Franklin scandal, the disappearance of Johnny Gosch, the Finders cult, MKUltra, and Pedogate, which is happening now, we've got to travel back to the past. And along our bumpy journey back, we've got to stop at a post-World War II United States. So in 5 minutes or less, I'm going to explain to you Operation Paperclip, its relationship to the CIA, and the National Security Act of 1947. So let's get started. The Nazis' fascination with the occult is no myth. The Pergamon altar, also known as the seat of Satan, depicts a battle between Nephilim and Olympian gods. The Pergamon's original home was in the ancient Greek city of Pergamon in Asia Minor. A German engineer began excavating the ruins in the late 1800s, and the new Pergamon Museum opened in Berlin in 1930. Hitler was elected Chancellor of Germany in 1933, and Hitler's architect designed Nuremberg's grandstand after the Pergamon. That's where Hitler held his Nazi rallies and ceremonies. So let's fast forward. After World War II ended, the US military rounded up Nazi scientists and brought them to America under a project signed by President Truman in 1946. Also known as Operation Paperclip. The objective was to snatch up the scientists before Russians had a chance to, denying the Nazi expertise to the Soviets so the United States could have an edge entering the Cold War. Over 1,500 Nazis and almost 4,000 family members were brought to the United States, and among them were top Nazis who had done horrible acts, though there have been efforts to whitewash the list of Nazis who came over here, downplaying their role in World War II. Some view Operation Paperclip as Zionists rewarding their puppets after World War II, since Zionists funded both the Axis and the Allies in an effort to establish the United Nations and secure Israel, among other goals. As a result, Nazis were injected into banking, industry, and aerospace in the United States. For example, the Nazi rocket scientist Wernher von Braun initiated the US space program. Here he is, pictured with JFK. Curiously enough, around the same time Operation Paperclip was initiated, the National Security Act of 1947 was signed, giving way to the Central Intelligence Agency, also known as the CIA. One could say that Operation Paperclip and the CIA were created within the same thought. One of the CIA's programs was Project MKUltra, which is sometimes referred to as the CIA's mind control program. This, too, is not a myth. It is a fact. The Freedom of Information Act revealed that, beginning in 1950, the U.S. government started using unwilling civilians as their test subjects, utilizing practices like hypnosis, sensory deprivation, isolation, drugs, verbal and sexual abuse, as well as various forms of torture. Though the admitted goals of MKUltra were to develop torture and interrogation methods, some historians believe that the project aimed to create an army of Manchurian candidates, programmed to perform all sorts of sordid acts, assassinations, child abuse, snuff films, rituals, and covert operations. Dr. G.C. Hammond's Green Bomb speech supports this assertion, stating that amongst his and other clinicians' patients, of those who had experienced abuse, the majority cited a Dr. Green performing the mind control practices. Who could this Dr. Green be? Perhaps another Nazi doctor who documented trauma-based mind control at the Nazi concentration camps? The same doctor who traveled to South America after World War II and was said to have multiple clinics? The question is, did Dr. Mengele flee to South America, or was he brought over like the other Nazis by the US government? Did his research serve as basis for MKUltra? And finally, were the Nuremberg trials simply theater being played out on a global stage? Did the Nazis actually lose World War II? Or did they just become the secret government of the United States? There are so many unanswered questions, but the answers are out there if you're willing to dig deep enough and keep your eyes open. Please let me know your answers below, and thank you all so much for watching and subscribing.
Gather round while I sing you of Wernher von Braun, a man whose allegiance is ruled by expedience. Call him a Nazi, he won't even frown. Nazi schmazi, says Wernher von Braun.
When he first launched Explorer into the great beyond, He tried to alleviate when it started to deviate. We had to catch up to those commies somehow. It's a good thing we had lots of Werner von Brauns.